Hello and welcome. We are live to the first Plan Your Week with Me and Do One Hard Thing. So we are going to get started right away. I just want to invite you to, if you're watching the replay or if you're live, come and tell me where you're from, where you're joining in from, what brings you here. Let's dive in. So I'll wait for that to happen and I'll try and watch the video when it comes back up later. But let's just start with the first thing I like to do when I plan is to limit any distractions. So I don't like to have things like in my view that are going to pull my distraction away because I think that's so easy to be able to be pulled out to doing other things. And so what I want to do is move out of my visual sightline anything that's going to distract me or pull my brain elsewhere. So it could be just even like the random to-dos, which we're going to grab those in a minute, but maybe just pile them. Putting your phone on do not disturb or silent is another way of doing it as well. And what else? I'm trying to think. Yeah, if you just have any like visual clutter too, I want to give you a moment to move that out of your space. So once you've done that, if you can hear my kids upstairs, it's because one of them is homesick and so they're just running upstairs. So apologies if you hear that. But that's why we're doing this anyways, right? We're going to do it anyways. Noise, no noise, silence, no silence. Whatever that is, let's dive in. So the first thing is eliminate any distractions and clean up your visual space that you see. The second thing I want to do is invite you to gather your supplies. So what does that mean? When you're planning ahead, I'll just show you some of the things that I have. So I like to have my day planner, which if you're interested in the link for the day planner, let me know. I got it off Amazon. I can throw it into the comments with the direct link and you can get it. I like it because it's a full, like so many reasons. I could do a whole video on why I like this day planner. It's not the only tool that I use to plan, but it's one of the tools that I use. And so I'm going to grab that. I also want to make sure that I have access to my Google Calendar. So that's the next thing I want to have with me as well. And what else? I like to have a scratch pad of paper. So this is what I have just for like my random to-dos to capture anything that happened in this week that I want to move over to next week or at a later time. And also just like to jot down any thoughts that are in my head. So it kind of like decreases the mental clutter and all the things that are happening in my brain, getting it down onto paper and pen and then scheduling it into my calendar based on my priorities. So I like to do that as well. I like to have my multiple colored pens and crayons available. I also like to have my Post-it notes, which I can't find at this present moment on my desk, but I generally like to have my colored Post-it notes as well because I have a Post-it problem. I just like write things on and I continue to move the Post-its depending if the thing doesn't get done. Or I also like to use it for things that repeat. So I record videos every week for YouTube. So I have shorts that I'm doing right now. I'm in a challenge with Pat Flynn. I also have like things like every Friday, I do a certain number of tasks. And so you'll see I have like a Post-it with my like Friday list of to-dos that I like to do every Friday, make them a habit. That way, like there's way less resistance around doing it. And yeah, so that's kind of my like planning setup that I like to have available and with me. The next thing we're going to do is before we dive into planning or anything like that, what I want to do is just invite you to take 3 deep breaths. So inhaling and exhaling. Let's do that together just to kind of let go of anything you were doing before you logged in today and join this call or watch the replay and anything that maybe you're just carrying from the week that went your way or didn't go your way or any just worries that you have. So I'm going to invite you to do that first. We're going to inhale. So just letting go anything that happened this week that you just want to let go of. Second one. Letting go of anything that you were doing right before you logged into this call. I was trying to assemble some IKEA furniture, so I'm just let that go. I did not complete it. So it is partially finished outside. Inhaling, exhaling. And then just bringing yourself to this space and being here now. And even you can just tell with the way that I'm showing it, I've like completely like settled in. We're here now. Let's do our planning. Let's go. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we want to capture any of the to-dos from this week things that we had hoped to do that didn't get done. We want to capture those, but we also want to just be mindful of like things that did get done this week, because I know we all overestimate the amount of time that we have, the amount of things that we're going to get done, and then we feel disappointed. But it's also important just to look at the things that you did do. So, as we do this brainstorming list, and brain dump is what they're often called, just getting everything out of your head. For me, that's like things that didn't get done this week that were on my calendar. I'm just going to record them. They're also like any random. I love using flashcards. So if you haven't watched my shorts video on flashcards, I love putting my days on flashcards, because honestly, if it doesn't fit on a flashcard, it's probably my day is probably overscheduled. And I will look at these. I've highlighted, if you can see, some of the things that I haven't done yet. And so I'm going to bring those over onto my main list, and I'm just going to record that. So I'm going to give us about 4 minutes or so to do that. I'm going to set a timer, and we'll do that together. And this is where you're also going to take note of any hard to do that you have. So if you have a hard to do, this is your time to write it down. And then I'm going to give us a minute to take action on that hard to do. Once we've kind of brain dumped everything, and we can look at it all and be like, what is the one thing that I'm struggling to do? And then we're going to take a step on that. So I set the timer for 4 minutes. So let's get our brain dumps down. Anything that is on a scrap piece of paper, a Post-it, in your email. Like, is there an email you haven't responded to that you need to respond to, that you want to respond to, that kind of thing. Looking for any deadlines for anything that's coming up, any asks, any preparation of things that you need to do, any trips that are coming, anything you need to book, appointments. Otherwise, let's go. Okay, so that is time. I still need a few minutes. I still have my flashcards that got to record, but currently this is where I'm at. So I'm just taking some of my stickies that I have. I'm writing down just random things that are, I'm like looking at my calendar. I'm using my brain, coming up with things that I have upcoming. Where we're at in April. We're almost halfway through the month of April. So I'm just taking note of like my priorities, what I still have to do, people I need to respond to. So I'm going to give us another just 2 minutes to do that, and you keep going, and then I'll let you know when the 2 minutes is up. Okay, so that takes care of the brain dump. And I'm sure you could keep going. You could find more things, but we need to end it somewhere. So we're going to end it there. So now the next thing we want to do is look at that brain dump and decide which is our one hard to do that we want to do together in this space right now. So for me, there are 3 birthday parties coming up: Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And some of them I just found out about this week. I haven't taken any action. And so for me, that's going to be my thing. I've got to split it up into the birthday cards, what the gifts are, and when I'm going to get them based on when everybody's birthday is and the events are happening. So I'm going to spend, I'm going to give us maybe, let's go with 3 minutes to start on doing your one hard thing. It could honestly be something, I'll tell you, hard to dos that I've done in the past. It could be booking a doctor's appointment. It could be booking yourself a massage. It could be sending a text message to someone to ask for their support to help you with something. So, for example, for me, one of the ones I did was I asked my mother-in-law for some help to watch our one of our kids so we could go on a date, my husband and I, because like we would notice that we weren't doing as many things together, and that was something that we wanted to prioritize. So that was something that I did. I had been like kind of just, I don't know, not like sitting on it, not doing it, kept moving the sticky note. And then this way, it's like I sent the text, I asked for help, I've got the ball rolling, and then now it's out there. So, whatever that is for you, pick your hard to do. I am going to set the timer now for 3 minutes just to give us time. Sometimes it's not enough, especially if you're waiting on hold for an appointment. But generally, if you're booking online, that should be plenty of time. So let's get that done. Let's book that appointment. Let's make that call. Let's make those decisions and schedule out for me like when I'm going to go get the cards, what the birthday gifts are, and when I'm getting them. So let's go. Okay. So I have that basically figured out. Turns out I can either make the birthday cards, 2 or 3 of them today, or I could go to the store and go get them. But that has to be done today. And then I split it out so that I go get one of the gifts tomorrow and then another gift on the Sunday. And then that'll take care of Monday. So, yeah, that was not in my plans, but it is now. So let's keep going. So the next thing we want to do is look at our list and our priorities. So if you don't know what your priorities are, I would invite you to maybe take a minute and think about like what are your priorities for this week? I like to set my priorities for the whole year. Then I break them down by quarter. So we're in quarter 2. So I'll be April to June. And I like to think about it in terms of focusing in on those priorities. And then when I go to plan my month and my week, those need to be at the top and there should be items in my calendar that are focused on that. So I know my priorities. If you don't, I want you to take a minute to think about that. And you might even need more than a minute after this call to like really think about it and decide. But I don't just blindly do my calendar. I come from that like top down thinking of like, what are my priorities? What's most important to me? And then like, how do I filter that into my calendar and into my day to day? Because they're clearly not my priorities. If they're not making my calendar, I'm not actually working on them. So I've got my priorities. I know what they are for this quarter. I'm then going to make sure that they are reflected in my next week. And then there's also already the things that are already scheduled. So that's what we're going to start with. And then I also want you to keep in mind fun and adventure should be in your calendar, scheduled in your calendar. Yes, I know it sounds weird and silly, but I schedule in fun and adventure because if we don't, we just get trapped with errands, cleaning the house, especially at spring cleaning time right now. We just get trapped up with all of that. And that's not where I want to live. That's not the life I want to live. So let's do this. I'm going to also be mindful of making sure that there's time for myself, that there's time for my husband and I, so that we have time together. And then also that there's like some sort of fun and adventure with my kids, which I had already decided ahead of time when the month started that I wanted to take them to the indoor water park. We have this really cool, crazy indoor water park. It's so much fun. And they have a toddler time during the week. So I already know that my kids are going to be home one of the weekdays next week, and I can then plan for that. And it's just super fun way for us all to get out, to go do something fun and get out and swim and be active too. So let's start with planning our next week. So I'm going to walk you through how I do it. If you already have your way, then you just do your way. If not, join me. I'm going to tell you how. So I start with my Google Calendar, which I'll show you really quickly. But basically I have it's color coordinated. And I have my Google Calendar. It looks kind of like this. And what I do is I will go through and look at the week that's coming up. I'll put them into my physical day planner. So I already know I have my physical day planner here. I'm going to slot what's already scheduled in my calendar onto it so I can visually see the whole week. I can see where the blank spaces are, where like all the like stuff is written down, right? So then I know that, okay, that's already kind of scheduled. I probably want to stay away from that. And then throughout the week, I just know like where are my like white spaces, and then do I want to put something on there that align with my priorities, right? If I'm going to fill it in, I'm going to color it in, I want to make sure it aligns with my priorities first, and that there's also something of fun and adventure, and there's also something for me in there. So let's start with that. So if you don't know what's scheduled in your calendar, I do want to invite you to maybe spend some time creating your Google Calendar or creating some form of a calendar where you have a system that records, your appointments, things to remember, all that kind of stuff. So I like having that in my Google Calendar. And then again, I filter it down week by week into my calendar. The reason I do this is so that it commits it from my Google Calendar into my actual brain. So then I actually know what's coming up and I can see what's coming up. So let's start with that. So I'm going to start with Monday the 13th, and I'm just going to color in with using my colored felts what's coming up. So I'm going to set a timer for us for 3 minutes to do that. So let's get started. And it shouldn't take too long unless you have a lot of things scheduled. But we want to work towards a way that it feels like really good, like where there's white space, there's fun, there's time for ourselves, all that kind of stuff. We want to build that in. Okay, so that's time. That's my clock going. I'm not finished yet, so I'm going to add 3 more minutes because I'm about halfway. I'm halfway through the week, and so let's add 3 more minutes on the clock. And I'm also noticing more additional like things that are coming up of things that I hadn't written down earlier in our brain dump. So I'm just also capturing those as well. So I set the timer, so let's keep going. So I'll just also add that one of my top priorities is exercising, strength building 4 times a week. And so now that I've like laid out my scheduled stuff, I'm going to look where all the white gaps are, and there better be white gaps because I've built my calendar this way. But I want to make sure that there's 4 days that I've picked for my workout. So I'm picking them ahead of time, the days and the times that I'm going to work out. And it might not be exactly perfect, but at least it's in my calendar. And then I know that day, this is what I'm planning to do. So that's what I'm going to do with the remaining time that we have, is to schedule those calendars, those workouts, and put them on my calendar. So I need to find 4 times that I'm going to work out. Okay, so that's time on that. I still need to find another day that I'm going to work out, that I'm actually going to do it. Because I've got the water park on Wednesday midweek. I have a bunch of calls, a doctor's appointment on Monday. So I'm like, do I want to do it beforehand? Not sure, but I love working on Mondays. I think it starts the week off like perfectly. So I'm actually going to maybe write it in as like doing a workout that day. So now I've got 3. I still need to find one more, which is like crazy that like 4 days of workouts would be hard to pick. So yeah, that's always kind of interesting to me. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I picked my 4 days. It might not be perfect. It might not happen that way, but that's what we're going to go with for now. Okay, and then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we've got one thing for ourselves. So whether that's your health, whether that's a massage, whether that's something else, that's what we'll do. And then family, friends, and significant others. So are there any family, friends that you want to connect with? A significant other, like a day date. I love, love, love day dates. And like doing something active together, something that connects you, not just like dinner, but like something that actually allows you to talk, to have fun, to have a good time. So that's something I like to do. Then like your business items, if you do have your own business like I do, have those to-dos been scheduled in your calendar, in alignment with your priorities. And then rest or blank space. So again, like I've talked about this before, but blank space is super important, and having that on there and not filling it with more things, which is often our tendency. Me too. And then I want you to like looking at those things in order, putting then your items, so the random to-dos, onto your calendar. And so I don't pick them all. Sometimes they just stay on that to-do list, and then they'll come back next week and I'll decide if they advance to the calendar and actually make it. But it's through that filter, right? So the filter of like yourself, your health, friends, family, significant other, business, and your work, and then your rest space and keeping it blank, right? And then the last thing I like to do once I put those items onto my calendar is to stress test it. I love stress testing my week. So the way I do that is I look at like how my week is looking. Like before I close my planner or before I move on to anything else, I'll look at my planner once all the items are on there. And then I go like, does that feel like too much? Does that look like too much? Because visually you can actually see it. And I go like, is that too much? Yeah, that looks like too much. Is there something I could reschedule? Is there someone I could ask for help with this on? Could I ask for more time on this other thing? Like that's what I do, because when you have lead time, you can actually make these things. Whereas when you're doing it in the moment and it's urgent and there's pressure around it, you don't get that chance. And so that's what I would do next. And so that's why I'm telling you. And stress testing is really important because that's where you can make your changes and you can see things ahead of time, right? And you can see them coming and you can make changes. So that's all I had for you today in terms of planning together and doing your one hard thing. So I hope you have at least a start to your plan for next week, and that you can see it visually. And also I invite you to think about your top 3 priorities for the week and really for the whole year and for the month and for the quarter. If you want help with that, join me again. Come back, join me every Friday. We're going to plan. We're going to plan ahead. We're going to do one hard thing together. And if you want one-on-one help, I do have one-on-one support that I do where we can work together on it. I will literally hold your hand and we'll do it together and we'll get it done. If you want that, my Calendly link to book that is in my channel YouTube page. So feel free to go and grab yourself a date and time that works for you. I would love to help you. I love planning. I love planning life. Like I could just sit here all day and do that, but it's beautiful outside today. So I am going to get out of here and go enjoy the sun with my kids. Okay. See you next week.